In today's practice, we will focus on stretching our arms and shoulders. A strap and 2 blocks may be needed. Namaste. My name is Loretta, and let's begin in a seated meditation. As we begin to arrive, maybe few cleansing breaths. As we begin to drop into the stillness, inhaling through the nose all the way up from the belly into the rib cage, the heart. Big mouth exhale and 2 more, inhaling and exhaling. And last one, inhale through your nose. Open mouth exhale. Begin to fully arrive on your mat in all aspects of your being. Our arms, our hands are extensions of the heart chakra, so it's important to keep them free from tension and to have the full range of movement so we could serve ourselves, so we could serve the world, we could serve the others. So next inhale, as you reach your arms up, palms touch, exhale, goalpost arms, open up the heart. And as you inhale, as you begin to return to the neutral spine and close your forearms in front of your chest, exhale, release to the legs. Inhale, reach your arms up, palms touch, gaze up. Exhale and bend the elbows, goalpost. Squeeze the elbows towards the back of the heart and expand your chest, lift your sternum. Inhale, neutral spine. Exhale, forearms, elbows touch, open up the back of the heart. Exhale, release. And then one more inhale, reach your arms up, upward salute. Exhale, goalpost, arms, shoulders stretch. Next inhale, neutral spine, forearms touch. Exhale, release. On your next inhalation, as you reach your arms up and over the head, interlace your fingers and turn your palms away from the earth towards the sky. And then begin to open up the side body as you reach up and stretch. Begin to move a little bit, intuitively swaying or circling. And as you release your arms now, we will stretch the wrists, palms, and fingers one hand at a time. It doesn't matter which hand you start with. We only have two. It's so easy not to forget which one as we switch, stretching the inner forearm, heel of our hand, wrist, palm, and fingers, holding about the same amount of breaths. Now as you inhale and reach your arms up, exhale, release them parallel to the floor and flex your both wrists. We all have different flexion in our wrists. It's somewhere from 75 to 90 degree flexion. Just do your best to press the heels of your hands away from your chest, and then try to bring your nails towards your ears as much as possible. Just breathe through it. Remind yourself that yoga is the ability to sustain prolonged physical or mental effort with ease and stamina, developing this strong stamina. Now, as you squeeze all 5 fingers into the small beak, and as if you wanted to take that beak into your armpit, this is the outer wrist stretch. Now you feel that your arms fire up. Just one more breath, and then maybe when you're ready, release. And then maybe move your shoulders one at a time, just like Shakira shoulders, or both, or one at a time, switching directions, intuitively releasing the tension. For the next exercise, we need the strap or the belt or the towel may work. If you're using the belt or the strap, make sure you have the buckle in one hand so you would not hurt yourself. Inhale, reach your arms up, and exhale, see if you could release them behind you, spine. Inhale up, exhale to the front. Inhale up, exhale back. Just make sure that you do that in a very smooth way. So, making sure that you open up your arms as wide as you need to, wider than the shoulders for sure. I sometimes call this shoulder flossing, as if we were flossing our shoulders. This is such a great exercise to regain the full range of movement in our shoulder. Feel the fire maybe already started. I'm going to move away. I'm going to turn my back to you to demo the other pose, which we called usually Gomukhasana or cow's face. So as you inhale and extend your right arm up, external rotation in that top shoulder. So I'm demoing it by turning the biceps away from the face and tricep towards the face, bending the top elbow, placing the top hand between the shoulder blades, and then extending your left arm up, turning the thumb down, palm towards the back wall. So that means you have internal rotation in the bottom shoulder. If you cannot clasp, not yet, you could use the strap. In my case, I don't need the strap, so I'm just clasping. And then when you clasp or use a strap to do that, now create an external rotation in the both shoulders by lifting your sternum and externally rotating your shoulders. And then moving with such a grace and mindfulness. Deep listening. This is a practice of deep listening. Now releasing this side and then taking the strap onto the right shoulder. Again, use your other hand maybe to initiate external rotation in the top shoulder. That's what helps you to get the grip. And then internal rotation in the bottom shoulder. I'm demoing that. And then if you can get the grip, use it to externally rotate your shoulders. So if you don't have the grip yet, use the strap or belt or towel to get into the grip. And then, maybe resting the back of your head on the top arm. And breathing. Such a great way to stretch shoulders, elbows, wrists, all of it, chest. Gomukhasana, cow's face arms. And releasing that side as well. Churning, rolling, moving one way and then reversing, just to allow the tension that builds from static hold to subside, to dissolve. Now, you could change the position of your legs. You could sit on your shins or block between your feet. We call that Vajrasana, thunderbolt. You could take even 2 blocks underneath your hips. I'm demoing that to ease into the pose. But if it doesn't feel good, you could always, use your own seat. Extend your arms forward. And now as you turn your palms away from each other, lift your right arm up, interlace your fingers, and then begin to kind of roll your hands in and out towards your chest and away from the chest. In and out. Another great way. And then release and switch. Left arm up. Palms are facing away from each other as you interlace the fingers and begin to move in and out. Targeting very interesting areas in our hands, wrists, elbows. Now, as you release, extend, and just simply do these exercises, palms facing away from the face, and then trying different angles, fingers up to the sides, fingers down. Kind of interesting, again, ways to target different areas. Now turn your palms towards yourself, and then do that with, arms. My little chicken dance, little chicken wings looks like it, right? And release, shake your wrists. So just exploring, being curious. Usually we don't do that on a daily basis. So the next pose we move into, it's called a hangers pose. And I learned that from Andrei Lapa, yoga teacher from Ukraine. So as you come into the preparation for that pose, now place your hips as close to your heels as you can, and then walk your hands away from your hips, away from your feet, and fingers are pointing away from the feet. And then once you come into the pose, you drop your chin to chest and really surrender to the gravity. Of course, you could control the intensity. It may be quite intense pose for many of us. Stretching the fascia, connective tissue, ligaments in our shoulders, elbows, wrists, forearms. The same way as you entered, you're going to move out of the pose, slowly walking hands towards your hips, finally turning your fingers towards your hips, and then moving your hips away from your feet. Now I'm going to demo this other stretch. So I learned that from Lapa too. You could make a fists, Mushti Mudra, take your thumb inside of your four fingers, wrap them around, and then place your fists onto your hips, and then take your elbows inside of your knees. So that's kind of weird stretch also. Now I have very flexible shoulders, so I can even move my feet towards each other. Heel toe, my feet together, and then use my knees, use my legs to squeeze my elbows in together. However, you could play with the distance between your feet. You could open them mat width, and you could even use one hand at a time, one elbow at a time. You could use one elbow inside of the knee at a time. It doesn't have to be, both elbows together. Now we're gonna come down onto our bellies for the next set of arm and shoulder stretches. So this is called the broken wing. Extend your right arm to the right. Make sure that your hand is in line with your shoulder and palm is facing down, and then come into the embryo. Head is resting on the floor or in a blanket. And then stay here, or move a little deeper. Lift your top knee towards the ceiling. Maybe even a little deeper. Lift your bottom knee towards the ceiling. Squeeze your knees together. Stay here. You could allow your, left arm rest in front of your chest, or wrap it around the spine. Feel free to explore. Or the deepest expression, you could reach for your bottom fingers with your left fingers, and then kind of lift them up, hook them up, and then stretch the fingers. Quite intense. So you could try, but don't do it if it doesn't feel good. Don't force yourself into the pose if you're not ready. And once you're ready, you could roll onto the belly and then move into the other side right away. Broken wing, left side, extend your left arm. You could rest in embryo as you pull your knees towards the belly, and nothing wrong with that. Just focus on the inner arm, shoulder stretch. Make sure that no tension in your neck, chin to chest. Or you could move deeper, lift your top knee up towards the ceiling. Maybe lift your bottom knee up towards the ceiling. Maybe wrap your top arm around the spine. Maybe even reach for your bottom fingertips and peel them off the floor using your right fingers. Hook them under left fingers and stretch. Quite intense stretch. And whenever you're ready, after about the same amount of time of breaths, you can roll onto your belly, and then you could rest, forehead onto the earth. You could take into the goalpost arms, or you could extend your arms alongside and come into the belly shavasana. Now the outer arm, outer shoulder stretch. So you could lift your head, and then as if Thread to the needle, weave your right arm all the way to the left, maybe block underneath your forehead. So that is a half pose, the full expression. You could lift your head and then cross your left arm on the top of your right, crossing your upper arms in front of your chest. I call that dragonfly wings, this pose. As you could tell, I turn my palms up because that's how I feel they naturally turn up towards the ceiling. I allow my head to be heavy and just dangle on my arms as a weight, allowing me to go into the deeper stretch, passive stretch. If you need to take the block underneath your forehead, you could always do that. It's just moving deeper and deeper, layer after layer after layer, as you surrender more and more to the gravity. And once you're ready to come out, as you inhale, gently lift your head and gently, very mindfully move your elbows away from each other as you uncross your arms, and then make a pillow with your hands as you rest your forehead on that pillow. Take a mental note which hand is on the top so you could switch when you go to the other side. When you're ready to move to the other side, lift your head, your chest, and then weave your left arm to the right, maybe using the block underneath your forehead. And this is just simply half pose. Half pose, focusing on one arm, one shoulder at a time, and nothing wrong with that. If you're ready to move into the full expression, you may lift your head and then cross your right arm to the left. Just make sure that your upper arms symmetrically cross across your chest, across your sternum, and try to move your upper arms as close to your sternum as possibly you could do that. Allow your head to be like the weight, and just be here now. Notice if there is any resistance to surrender, any resistance to control, let it go. Trust the earth, trust this practice. When you're ready to come out, as you slowly inhale, lift your head and move your elbows away from each other. Make a pillow with your hands and rest your forehead on that pillow, the other hand on the top. Just allow the tension, the movement to subside. And as you move into the Sphinx pose, that is our next pose. Sphinx or Seals pose. The Seals pose, you stretch your arms straight. Drop your head down, stretching the back of the neck. Or you could keep your forearms down, traditional Sphinx. Stretching the front bodies, the side body stretch. And then again resting. Reflecting, witnessing the subtlety of being. Once you're ready to come off the floor, take your hands next to your shoulders and inhale, press yourself up into a preparation for the next pose, which is a beautiful pose that we call Anahata Asana. You could start with traditional expression when you extend your arms forward and release your forehead down as if you were doing down dog on your knees. Sometimes it's called the puppy stretch. Or you could try the blocks if you want to go into a little bit deeper expression. Elbows onto the blocks and, arms, palms together in prayer. I know that I like the second height, so I'm going to use that. So as I place the blocks under the second height, I place my elbows to the middle of the blocks, and then I take my prayer hands behind my neck, behind the back of my head. I would not recommend the highest height of the blocks, because then it becomes very unstable and you could hurt yourself. Really good stretch to the triceps, rib cage, chest, elbows. Modification, variation of Anahata. Anahata is the name of the heart chakra, which means unstruck from Sanskrit. Once you're ready now, as you begin to slowly, very mindfully move away from the pose, especially if you are on the blocks, and as you come into a seated, maybe do some shoulder rolls, some observation, reflection, and eventually moving into the embryo pose, the counter pose for Anahata Asana, extending arms alongside the body, feet, hands soft, hands are resting next to the feet, palms facing up. You could even cup your heels with your palms. Arms are heavy, elbows bent to the side to open up the back of your heart. Head is heavy. As you inhale, you're gonna come back up into a seated, and I'm gonna demo where we're gonna go next. As you could tell, I placed my palm behind my shoulder blades, but this time palm is facing towards the earth. So as you lay down onto your right side, roll onto the right side and place that left palm between your shoulder blades or underneath your rib cage or even close to your sacrum. You could lift your knees up and then stay in that expression. I am adding the hip stretch, what is known as supine pigeon. I'm taking my right ankle on the top of my left thigh, and then I'm just using this to come out. You roll onto your right side and extend your left arm to the sky, roll the wrist, elbow, circle. And we're gonna move to the other side as you roll onto your left side. Oh no, we're gonna do this. I'm adding actually another great stretch. It is similar as we did with the seated, elbows inside of our knees. But this time, as you roll, as you create the 90-degree with your elbow, you roll, onto your left side. Now, we're doing the same two sequences. We created this sequence of two poses, placing the left hand onto your left knee and then pushing the knee away if you're adding the hip stretch. And now I'm gonna circle. And now as you create the 90-degree with your elbow, use your top hand to place your bottom hand down. As you slowly roll, be very mindful, very intense. This is a small one, but it goes a long way. Now, hug yourself as you roll onto your back, knees pointing up towards the ceiling. And hugging yourself is so important. You could hold those hugs as long as necessary. Now, switching your arms, and then nothing awkward with hugging ourselves. Knowing that hugging yourself can actually really release oxytocin and help you to calm and soothe you during these stressful times. Just expressing love to yourself. So beautiful. Give yourself a nice big squeeze. And release. And you could rest here with your knees bent, feet on the floor. You could even take a wider stance with your feet and then drop your knees into each other for support. Allow them to touch, arms extended alongside the body, Shavasana arms. And you could stay in that pose as long as you need to. You could take into traditional Shavasana. You could add now any other poses of your choice. You could roll onto any side that feels good intuitively. Rest in embryo. You could come into a seated meditation and end your practice with the seated meditation, Dhyana Mudra, with your hands symbolizing the empty cup, ready to receive the knowledge. Feeling the freedom, the spaciousness across your chest, across the back of your heart and your shoulders. Feeling the aliveness in your arms, in your hands. Such a great way to expand our heart chakras. Namaste. I thank you for practicing with me.